All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and let's narrate this eighth inning. It's 2003, October 14th, game number 6, Cubs versus Marlins. We got number 44, Kyle Farnsworth warming up, and the mound is Mark Pryor is losing control over his pitches. I think they did too much with Pryor. Very high pitch count. But there's something else about Pryor, too. So I'm going to go ahead and narrate this eighth inning, guys, for a little bit. This ain't going to be long. At this time, I was really, really into the Cubs, guys. I really wanted to see Sammy Sosa win a World Series, as well as the rest of the people on the Cubs staff. I mean, I just, at this point, I was really, really diehard Cubs fan. I'm talking about literally watched every single game, guys. Okay, I remember people used to ask me, how can you watch baseball like that? At this time, I was a baseball fan. I could watch every single pitch. I was that into it. But let's go ahead and narrate this eighth inning, guys, and have a few things to say about it.
Just the one. Not even a whiff of activity down in that Chicago Cubs bullpen. Pryor averaged more pitches per start than any pitcher in the major leagues this season. This will be 110 on the night for Pryor. And it's 3-2.
Pryor's just 116 pitches in his first start of this series. Previous to that, he had 3 straight starts of over 130. He hasn't shown any reason to have any activity. Stuff's the same.
Foul out of play. Castillo making it work.
Yeah, somewhere in the background, you can hear Greg Maddux saying, this kid is not going to last too long in the league. You could tell by the way he pitches the ball. You look at the way his arm kind of flings, at the end of his pitches. It's kind of like the motion of the arm after the pitch. Some people used to say Derrick Rose, when he used to dunk, he used to land, awkwardly on his legs. There are people who sit behind the scenes who know which superstars are going to get injured. They're not going to last long. That's why you really got to look at Greg Maddux like 100%, like probably one of the top 5 pitchers of all time, because he didn't have to throw that hard and his mechanics were flawless. But I can just hear Greg Maddux right now saying this kid is not going to last long in the league, and he didn't. Let's move on.
Al, you talked about the pitch that you throw in this situation that you have the most confidence in throwing a strike. And that's what you have to do right here to Castillo, don't you? I mean, he's not going to hurt you with the long ball most likely. All 6 of his home runs are from the right side. But the guy on deck can, and if he does, and Castillo's on, that's a tie ball game. Got to go after Castillo and make him put the ball in play.
3-2. Again fouled away. A 7-pitch at bat thus far for Castillo. Now Kyle Farnsworth will go to the bullpen mound and start to get loose. Into the stands and couldn't get it. He's riddled with a fan.
We've seen this happen here before. That's awfully close to fan interference right there. The umpire's all over it. The umpire right down there, Mike Everett's on the play. If Alou has to reach into the stands, it's fair game for the fans to catch the ball. If the fan reaches out over the field, then it can be ruled fan interference. That is very, very close.
And that's a Cub fan who tried to make that catch.
Why?
And it's ball four to Castillo. The pitch gets away from Baca.
All right, guys, we got a clip. We got a glimpse of number 44. 44 as I'm talking. As Steve Bartman went in and catch a ball that was aiming right at his head. So now y'all know why I turned on this video and decided to do this narration, of course, because we're going to talk about, I just want to say a few words about Steve Bartman. Okay, guys, this ball, let's look at where this ball lands one more time, shall we?
He's not going to hurt you with the long ball, most likely. All 6 of his home runs are from the right side. But the guy on deck can, and if he does, and Castillo's on, that's a tie ball game. Got to go after Castillo and make him put the ball in play.
3-2. Again fouled away. A 7-pitch at bat thus far for Castillo. Now Kyle Farnsworth will go to the bullpen mound and start to get loose. Into the stands and couldn't get it. He's livid with a fan.
We've seen this happen here before. That's awfully close to fan interference right there. The umpire's all over it. The umpire right down there, Mike Everett's on the play. If Alou has to reach into the stands, it's fair game for the fans to catch the ball. If the fan reaches out over the field, then it can be ruled fan interference. That is very, very close.
And that's a Cub fan who tried to make that catch.
Why?
And it's ball four to Castillo. The pitch gets away from Baca.
Okay, we all know how this story ended. Wow. That was tough, man. But Steve Bartman, right? He caught all the slack, and I saw the security had to come over.
Dancing on
Let's
the
see the
third is the
replay.
air. So now the tying run will come to the plate for the Florida Marlins here in the top of the 8th inning. In the form of Ivan Rodriguez, who has 2 home runs in the series, 3 homers in the postseason, and 14 runs batted in.
There you see it again. There's a couple fans in there reaching out there to try to catch the ball. That's just a little kid right there. You can't really fault any of them, really. But here in Wrigley, when the opposing team hits a home run, they throw the ball back onto the field. I'm surprised someone hasn't thrown that fan onto the field. I think he's getting scared to leave this place. Looked to me like at least one of them down there trying to catch that foul ball was a youngster. I don't know about you, Al, but if I'm a 10 or 12-year-old kid at Game 6 of a Cub game and the ball comes into my area.
Okay, at this point, the fans are getting testy. You see this guy over here.
Trying to catch it. You know, it's a foul ball.
So that guy over there is already starting a group of people to go against Bartman. Okay? And the security has to come over because this guy is antagonizing Bartman and he's trying to gang up like a posse of people against Steve Bartman.
Alou thought he was going to make the play, and it certainly looked like he had a chance. And that's all for naught now. The tying run is at the plate.
It's kind of funny, but we all know Steve Bartman, man, he went through hell. But it just goes to show you how, crazy people can get. Now, this is a game, right? It's a game. But we're talking about the Cubs and Wrigley Field here. We're talking about them having a chance to go to the World Series. And this guy, security had to come over. And I believe they had to escort Bartman out of the stadium before the game ended because there was a mob of people, kind of like that movie Airplane when I showed y'all. It was a mob of people ganged up. They were. I mean, if it was no security, they would have hung this guy. Like seriously, they would have burned this guy at the stake. They would have had no problem doing it. And if they couldn't burn him at the stake for interfering with the baseball, they would have found a reason to burn him at the stake. They would have did a whole background check and everything. But just to end this, guys, this ball, okay, it was not Steve Bartman's fault. That ball was headed straight for his head. Matter of fact, I seriously doubt Alou would have caught that ball. Even if the fans did not reach up and try to catch that ball was out of the reach of Alou. Let me see if we can confirm that. Let's go back.
In the form of Ivan Rodriguez, who has 2 home runs in the series, 3 homers in the postseason, and 14 runs batted in.
That could be real fan interference. That is very, very close.
And that's a Cub fan who tried to make that catch.
Why?
And it's ball 4 to Castillo. The pitch gets away from Baco, and advancing on to third is Pierre. So now the tying run will come to the plate for the Florida Marlins here in the top of the 8th inning. In the form of Ivan Rodriguez, who has 2 home runs in the series, 3 homers in the postseason, and 14 runs batted in.
There you see it again. There's a couple fans that are reaching out there to try to.
That ball is out of the reach of Alou, guys. Okay, it's out of the reach of Alou. He would not have caught that ball even if the fans wasn't there. Maybe I give him a 35% chance of catching that ball if it was no fan interference. I'm dead serious with you guys, because he's dealing with a brick wall and that ball is clearly in the stands. One of the announcers got it right, and the umpire definitely got it right. Okay, that was not fan interference. The ball was in the stands. Okay, Alou had to reach over the brick wall and into the stands to try to get to that ball, which in my opinion was out of the reach of Alou's glove. Okay, so it was not Steve Bartman's fault. He was simply protecting his goddamn head from being hit on an noggin with a baseball. It's just so ironically he ended up looking like the most vulnerable jackass in the whole stadium with those headphones on. It's like they would have burned him alive just for wearing headphones. Like, what are you doing wearing headphones at a Cubs game? Oh, my God. I mean, you talk about a scapegoat, man, but no. Just to end it, guys, that ball, that was not Steve Bartman's fault. He hadn't, it wasn't like he was the only one that reached up for it. I don't understand. How did they blame, how did they blame him? Everybody was reaching up for that ball. If Steve Bartman wasn't there, somebody else would have been blamed for reaching for that ball. But the ball was in the field of play. It was in the stands. That ball was not meant to be caught by Moises Alou. You see? But then the way Alou reacted was, that's the way he was supposed to react, because he felt like, he would have caught it, but he was in the stands. And in my opinion, he only had like a 35% chance of catching that ball, even if the fans was not there. The ball was out of reach of Moises Alou's glove.